Hello everyone, it's time for the textual part of our literature reader, New Broadway. In this video, I'm taking the textual part of the chapter, The Quality of Mercy. Before starting the question answer, the information about the writer that was left in the previous video, here I'm taking that. The Quality of Mercy is written by William Shakespeare, who was born in 1564 and died in 1616. He is regarded as the greatest of English-speaking playwrights. He wrote some of the finest plays of all times, which continue to be staged across the world. Each time actors recreate his plays in front of an audience, he becomes a living dramatist again. The Merchant of Venice is one of his most popular comedies. So most of all the plays written by William Shakespeare were staged during that time. So he was regarded as a living dramatist also. This chapter, A Quality of Mercy, is taken by one of his popular comedy writing, Merchant of Venice. Question number 1 from the part Understand. Study Portia's opening lines beginning with the quality of mercy is not restrained. What are the different qualities of mercy that she talks about? Do they have any effect on Shylock? The answer is Portia says, mercy blesseth both the giver and the taker. She says that the power of mercy is over the rule and the power of a king, and that it is the quality of God himself. She thinks mercy's power is greater than the power of might. The qualities of mercy that Portia talks about have no effect on Shylock. So according to Portia, mercy is the greatest power, greater than the power of a king, greater than the power of any might. But even after describing different qualities of mercy, Shylock was not having any kind of positive effect over mercy. Question number 2. What logic does Portia use to trap Shylock? Why does she not accept Shylock's plea that he is now willing to take Bassanio's money instead of a pound of Antonio's flesh? The answer is Portia very cleverly allows Shylock a pound of flesh from Antonio's body, but forbids him to shed even a drop of blood, since there was no mention of blood in the bond. It was impossible for Shylock to cut the flesh without any bleeding. In addition, she cautioned him that he could take just 1 pound and no more or no less, failing which he would have to forfeit his property. Since he had rejected the offer, Portia told him that he no longer had the right to take Bassanio's money. So when Shylock agreed on taking 3 times more money than the capital, then Portia put the type of clause that Shylock trapped in his own bond. Question number 3. Read these lines from the play and answer the questions that follow. Some lines from the play have been given here. Out of those lines, some questions have been framed. We have to answer those questions. The lines are, it becomes the throned monarch better than his crown. His scepter shows the force of temporal power. First question from these lines, who is speaking these lines and to whom? The answer is Portia in the guise of a young lawyer is speaking to Shylock. So Portia has taken the appearance of an advocate and she is speaking these lines to Shylock in the law court of Venice. Next question is, what is the it being talked about? Here it refers to the quality of mercy. The last question from these lines, in what way is it greater than the temporal power? The answer is, it is a greater gift than power on this earth, for it is divine. So according to Portia, mercy is the divine power of God, because God himself has accepted this power. So it should be a duty for each and everyone on the earth that they should also adopt the way of mercy. Next lines from the chapter. And I beseech you, rest once the law to your authority, to do a great right, do a little wrong, and curb this cruel devil of his will. First question from these lines, who is speaking these words and to whom? The answer is Bassanio is talking to Portia. He is asking her to disregard a clause in the bond and ask Shylock to accept even double the amount of money due to him. He offers to pay the money on behalf of Antonio. Bassanio, being a friend, wants to save Antonio's life, and so he becomes ready to give double the money of the lent money to him. And this clause was not written in agreement, so Bassanio was requesting Portia to add this clause. Next question is, what is the person requesting? The answer is, he is requesting Portia to allow a breach in the bond by convincing Shylock to accept money instead of a pound of Antonio's flesh. Question number 3 is, what do the words great right and little wrong mean here? The great right is to prevent the death of a human being, and the little wrong is to ignore a clause in the bond. So the great humanity will be to save a human's life by just making a little wrong in the clause or in the written agreement. This was the main aim of Bassanio, that he was requesting to Portia to add in the agreement. Next lines, nay, take my life and all, pardon not that you take my house when you do take the prop, that doth sustain my house, you take my life when you do take the means whereby I live. Who is the speaker of these lines? First question from these lines, the answer is Shylock is speaking these lines. Next question, what judgment has been decreed in the court? The answer is, since he is going back upon the bond and has been inclined to take his flesh, one half of his property would be given to Antonio, the victim, and the other half would go to the estate. So what was the judgment? Now the Shylock has lost the bond, and that's why he is responsible to give half of the money to Antonio, and half of the money will go to the estate of Venice. Third question from these lines, what is the speaker seeking? The answer is, he is seeking death in place of penury which will befall him if his property and source of income are taken away from him. Penury is the synonym of penalty. So he does not want to give his money, his house, his property, because these all are the means of his livelihood. So he was requesting to the court that instead of taking his property, just give him death as the punishment. Question number 4 from the part info. Shylock says, I crave the law, the penalty and forfeit of my bond. Does he want the law to take its course because he believes in the rule of law, or does he have some other reason and motive for wanting the legal bond to be executed? How can you tell? The answer is no, he didn't believe in the law. He believed that following the clauses in the bond would help him take his revenge on Antonio. His only motive was to punish Antonio and take his revenge. Since the bond had clauses which could lead to Antonio's death, he insisted upon the bond being executed. Even when he was offered 3 times the money he had lent, he used the bond as an excuse to insist on the pound of flesh from Antonio. So it is clear that Shylock really wants to take Antonio's life just to take revenge from him, and he doesn't take anything from the agreement. Means like if agreement is going on, he was not insisted in fact on just following the legal process, but his main intention was to kill Antonio anyhow. And though it was written in the agreement that on failing by for paying the penalty, Antonio's will be given death by taking the flesh of pound, so he was keep insisting on that penalty, nothing else. Question number 5. Daniel is the Hebrew prophet who appears in the Bible. He is an upright judge and a person of great wisdom. Shylock exclaims, Daniel come to judgment. Is this a suitable description of Portia? Why do you think so? Hebrew means the person lives in old time in Israel. And Daniel here come for the court judge who is regarded as God. The answer is yes, Portia decides the case fairly without any partiality to either party. She interprets the law very wisely and goes by the rule. She proves to be a very upright judge. Even though she follows the bond to the letter, she helps save Antonio's life. So yes, this is true that Portia fairly brought the case in Antonio's favor. Even she did not pay attention when her husband said to ignore the clauses written in the bond and to make Shylock ready to agree on taking thrice more money than the lent money. But she did not pay attention on this clause of her husband, and by her wits and intelligence, she won the case. Question number 6. Does Antonio accept the half of Shylock's property that is awarded to him by the Duke? Why or why not? What does this tell you about him? The answer is no, he doesn't. Instead, he requests that one half of the property be given to the man Lorenzo who had married Shylock's daughter. Antonio was a kind-hearted man and held no grudges against anyone. He requested for the pardon of the fine in spite of the fact that Shylock had planned to kill him. So, in spite of the declaration of the Duke of Venice that the half of Shylock's property should be awarded to Antonio, Antonio denied to take that share by saying that his awarded share should be given to Shylock's son-in-law Lorenzo, and the true right on that property is of Shylock's daughter Jessica. Question number 7. Do you think the punishment Shylock receives is fair? If you had been the Duke, would you have punished Shylock differently? The answer is yes. The best punishment for a harsh and miserly person is the taking away of his money. This punishment is worse than the physical pain for him, as he himself says, "You take my life when you do take the means whereby I live." So Shylock loves his money more than his life, because he has passed his complete life in earning the money by illegal means. So his property was very dear to him than his own life. So according to me, this was the best punishment for him, as if anybody has taken his life from him. Question number 1 from the part extension. The whole business of winning a case depends on a clever interpretation of the law. Using examples from the play, discuss this statement in groups of 4. Then share your ideas with the other groups in a journal feedback session. I have given an example answer here, but your answer may be different depending on your discussion with the other groups. The court's decision can be justified as appropriate to Shylock's crime, but the court indulges in an equally reading of the law in order to punish Shylock in the severest form. The Duke does not take away Shylock's life but prohibits him to practice his profession. In the course of this play, Shylock loses his servants, his daughters, his fortune, and all. Prohibits means deny, or forbids means mana karna. So according to the judgment of Duke, Shylock was not allowed to practice his profession of lending his money, and at the end of this play, Shylock loses all his servants, his daughter, and his fortune. I told you in the previous video that this chapter, The Quality of Mercy, is a part of the play The Merchant of Venice, written by William Shakespeare. So when this play ends, then it is shown that Shylock loses everything at the end of this play. And whereas the question arises of clever interpretation in this play, so that is done by Portia very intelligently. Question number 2 from this part. Think of 3 words each that aptly describe the following characters: Antonio, Shylock, Portia, and Bassanio. We have to find out the adjective words that will define these characters of this play. Antonio was generous, brave, upright, loyal, and caring friend. Upright means straightforward. Shylock was revengeful, miserly, inhuman, and covetous. Covetous means a person who wants to grasp everything or take everything. Portia was intelligent, bold and compassionate. Compassionate means kind. And Bassanio was loyal, warm and loving. With this question we have completed the textual part of this chapter. We'll meet in next video. See you soon.